Okay, we're on to question 12. So, what fraction of 1 hour is 12 minutes? Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour, so it's 12 out of 60. We can cancel the fraction down to give us 1/5. It asks us to give our answer in the simplest form, so there's 1 mark for writing 1/5. If you don't cancel the fraction down, you don't get any marks. Question 13. Write 3 hours and 5 minutes in minutes. Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour, so 3 times 60 is 180. Add on the 5 minutes, which gives us 185 minutes. There's 1 mark for correct working for showing 3 times 60 and 1 mark for 185 minutes. Question 14. I start my homework at 5:15 and I finish it at 6:05. With time, it's often easier to think of it along a timeline. Remember, there's only 60 minutes in an hour, so we're going from 5:15 p.m. to 6:05 p.m. Jumping up to the nearest hour, which is 6 o'clock p.m, is 45 minutes, and then we've got 5 more minutes to 6:05 p.m, which makes a total of 50 minutes. There's 1 mark for the correct answer here. Question 15. It takes 3 builders 4 hours to build a wall. Now remember, here are 3 builders. They spend 4 hours each because they're working together. This is a total of 12 man-hours. So we've got 12 man-hours. How long would it take just 2 builders to build the wall? Well, we divide the number of hours between the 2 builders, which is 6 hours. There's 1 mark for this question. Question 16. Part A, 2/7 add 3/7. If the denominators are the same, we simply add the numerators. 2 add 3 is 5, and they're still 7ths. 1 mark. Part B, 8/15 minus 4/15. Again, the denominators are the same, so we subtract the numerators, which gives us 4/15. 1 mark. Part C is a little bit trickier. 1/3 add 1/4. This time the denominators are not the same. We've got to give them a common denominator. The lowest common multiple of both 3 and 4 is 12. Think carefully. What did we multiply the 3 by to make 12? We multiplied it by 4. Therefore, we multiply the numerator by 4, giving us 4/12. What did we multiply 4 by to make 12? 3. Therefore, we multiply the numerator by 3 to give us 3/12. Now we've got 4/12 add 3/12, which gives us 7/12. There are 2 marks for this question. 1 for correctly identifying the common denominator, and 1 for the answer 7/12. Question 17. Here we're asked to calculate the size of angle A. Now the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. 100 plus 50 is 150 degrees. We've already used 150 degrees of our 180. So to work out the size of angle A, we've got to subtract 150 from 180, giving us 30 degrees. There's 1 mark for knowing the angles in a triangle sum to 180, and 1 mark for a correct answer of 30. Question 18. When 2 numbers are added, the answer is 17. When the same numbers are subtracted, the answer is 3. Well, first of all, think about pairs of numbers which sum to 17. 1 and 16, 2 and 15, 3 and 14, 4 and 13, 5 and 12. As you're going, look to see if the difference is 3. Well, the difference between 1 and 16 is 15, so that's not right. Difference between 2 and 15, 13. Difference between 3 and 14, 11. Notice the difference is going down as the numbers get closer together. So think carefully. Let's try difference between 5 and 12. Well, the difference between 5 and 12 is 7, so we're getting there. The difference between 6 and 11 is 5, and the difference between 7 and 10 is 3. There are two numbers. There's 1 mark for each correct number. In the next question, we've got to find the next two terms in each of the sequences. When you're finding terms in a sequence, always look at the difference between consecutive terms. If we look at this sequence, each term is 3 more than the previous term. So to find the next two terms, we just add 3, giving us 17 and 20. There's 1 mark for 17 and 1 mark for 20. The next sequence is a descending sequence. Again, look at the difference between consecutive terms. This time we're subtracting 4, which tells us the next term must be 41 and the next term 37. Again, 2 marks, 1 for 41 and 1 for 37. Again, we can look at the difference between consecutive terms, but those of you among you who are switched on will have spotted it's just the 11 times table, and we know the next two terms in the 11 times table. Again, 1 mark for each of the two terms. Part D. It might be that you can spot this straight away, but if not, look at the difference between consecutive terms again. We go down by 16, down by 8, down by 4. It looks like we're subtracting half each time. So we're halving the number, which gives us 2 and then 1. Again, 1 mark for each correct answer. Question 20 is all about reading the question correctly. If you want, you could highlight the relevant information. So it tells you in your pocket you have 6 50p coins. You have 2 20p coins. You have 2 10p coins and 3 5p coins. So let's just work out how much we've got all together. 6 50p coins is £3, 300 pence. 2 20p coins is 40 pence. 2 10p coins is 20 pence, and 3 5p coins is 15 pence. Adding them all together, we get £3.75. You get 1 mark if you attempted to add together the parts, and you get 1 mark for the correct answer. Question 21. The important thing here is to note that the same number can be used more than once. The largest prime number, smaller than 10, was 7. 1 mark for that. And the number that's a factor of both 54 and 99 was 9. 1 mark for that. The number that can be divided by 3 and 7 is 21. 1 mark for that. 2 times 2 times 13 is 52. I did it by multiplying 2 times 2, which is 4, and then multiplying 4 by 13. 3 squared means 3 times 3, which is 9. 1 mark for that. And a number multiplied by itself, which makes 121, is 11. 1 mark for that. You should be able to get all these marks. The problem with question 22 is not reading the question properly. What fraction of the letters in 77 are an E? Well, let's highlight the ones which are an E. That one, that one, that one, and that one. I make that 4 letters out of a total of 12 letters. Now it asks for the answer in its simplest form. That will cancel to 1/3. There's 1 mark for writing 4/12 and 1 mark for writing 1/3. In question 23, you were given a function machine and an example. If Sam put 24 into the machine, he would get 24 divided by 3, which is 8. And then we've got 8 plus 17, which is 25. 1 mark for showing the method and 1 mark for the correct answer. Question 24. 20% of 30% of 250. The trick with these is you've got to work from the inside out. The first thing you've got to do is find 30% of 250. Well, 10% of 250 is 25. Therefore, 30% of 250 is 3 times that, which is 75. Now you've worked out that this bit here is 75, we can find 20% of 75. Well, 10% of 75 is 7.5 or £7.50. Therefore, 20% of 75 is double that, is 15. So our answer is 15. There is 1 mark for the correct working and 1 mark for the correct solution. Question 25. We're told that this year is 2012. What is 2012 divided by 4? Well, we can do a bus stop or we could halve and halve. I'm going to do a bus stop. 4s into 2 don't go. 4s into 20 is 5. 4s into 1 don't go. 4s into 12 is 3. 503. There is 1 mark for the number 503. What is 2012 multiplied by 5? Well, we can either do a multiplication or we can multiply by 10 and divide by 2. I'm going to do a multiplication. 5 2s are 10. 5 1s are 5, add the 1 is 6. 5 zeros are 0 and 5 2s are 10. 10,060. 1 mark for that correct answer. The third part of this question tells us that Churches College was founded in 1722. If it's 2012 this year, as we've been told, we've got to work out the difference between 2012 and 1722. We can count up using Froggy Jump, or we can simply subtract. I'm going to subtract. 2 subtract 2 is 0. 1 subtract 2 we can't do. Go next door, he's got nothing. Go further, bash him on the head, take 1, leaving 1. That makes him 10. Bash him on the head, take 1, leaves 9. That makes him 11, which gives us 9. 9 take 7 is 2. 1 take 1 is 0. So it's 290. The last part of this question asks us when the digits of the year will next add up to 5. Well, we could easily swap the last 2 digits to give us 2021. 1 mark for this. 26 part A. We've got to fill in the boxes. Well, I know that 2 and 3 make 5. Something add 5 has got to make 1. Well, we know it's got to be larger than 1. Therefore, to have a 1 in the tens column, it must be 11. What add 5 makes 11? Well, it must be 6. Looking at this column, we've now got a 1 that we carried. We've got 3 and the 1 we carried, 4, which gives us 1 missing here. There are 3 marks for this question. 1 for each correctly filled in box. This time we're subtracting. Now looking carefully, we know that 4 takes something can never be 7. Therefore, it must be 14 takes something is 7, which gives us 7 here. Now, something takes 6 is 1. Well, 7 takes 6 is 1, but remember, we took this 1 off it, so it must have been 8 originally. And finally, 9 take 3 is 6. 3 marks. 1 for 8, 1 for 7, and 1 for 6. I think the quickest way to do this is to work them out. Now, 1 times 2 is 2, multiplied by 3 times 4 is 12, so that's 24. 1 times 2 is 2, added to 3 times 4, added to 12 is 14. 1 times 2 is 2, multiplied by 3 plus 4, which is 7, is 14 again. 1 plus 2 is 3, multiplied by 12 is 36. 1 plus 2 is 3, multiplied by 3 plus 4, which is 7, is 21. Therefore, the biggest is D. There's 1 mark for writing D. Question 28 asks which of these fractions is nearest to 1. Now, looking at these fractions, we can see that the difference between the numerator and the denominator is always 11. So if you think about the distance between each fraction and 1, the distance between 12 23rds and 1 is 11 23rds. The distance between 23 24ths and 1 is 11 34ths. The difference between 34 45ths and 1 is 11 45ths. Between 56 60ths and 1 is 11 56ths. And between 56 67ths and 1 is 11 67ths. So, given that these numbers are the difference between the fraction and our whole, 1, then the one that's closest to 1 is the one with the smallest gap. Well, the smallest gap is 11 67ths, because 67ths are much smaller than 56, 45ths, 34ths or 23rds. Therefore, the answer is E, 56 67ths. There is 1 mark for this question. Question 29 tells you that 9 is 15% of something. Now, I always think when I'm thinking with percentages, I know 100% is the whole, so here is my whole bar. I'm told that 15% is 9. Well, let's build it up. If this piece is worth 9, 30% will be worth 18 to 15%. I've got 30% so far. Okay, let's do another 30%, which will be worth 18. That's 60% altogether. Let's do another 30%, which will be worth another 18. We're now at 90% altogether. We've got another 10% to go. Thinking carefully, if we split 15% into 3 lots of 5%, it would be 3 lots of 3. So 10% must be 6. Adding these together gives us 60. So 9 is 15% of 60. So the answer is C. It's always possible to do a quick check. Let's work out 15% of 60. Well, 10% of 60 is 6. And 5% must be 3, which will give us a total for 15% of 9. So it works. There's 1 mark for this question. Question 30. A torch uses 3 batteries in 6 hours. We want to know how many batteries the torch will use in 30 hours. Well, let's think about this. 6 hours, if we multiply that by 5, will give us 30 hours. Therefore, we've got to multiply the number of batteries by 5. So we need 15 batteries. Since the batteries come in packs of 4, how many packs of 4 do we need? Well, 3 packs of 4 batteries would be 12 batteries, which isn't enough. So we need 4 packs of 4 batteries. So our answer is C, 4 packs. There's 1 mark for this question. Question 31. There are 20 children at a party. We're told that 12 have brown hair. We're also told that 20% have black hair. So we want to find 20% of 20. Well, 10% of 20 is 2. So 20% is 4. So we know that 4 have black hair. The rest have blonde hair. How many have blonde hair? Well, 12 have brown, 4 have black. That makes a total of 16. Since there are 20 children at the party, 20 minus 16 equals 4. So I think 4 have blonde hair. Your answer is A. There's 1 mark for this question. In question 32, we rotate a line through 180 degrees about different fixed points. Our first fixed point is point B. Imagine you're putting a pen on point B and we're rotating this line about point B. Point A will go to point C. Point C will go to point A. Point D will end up here and point E will end up here. Okay, now the next step is to rotate it about point C. So, putting our pen here, point D comes back to here, point E back to here, point C stays where it is, point A will come to here and point B will come to here. Finally, we're going to rotate it about point E. Putting our pen where point E now is, we can see point E will stay where it is. Point D, sorry, I'll find another colour. E will stay where it is. Point D will come to here. Point C will come to here. Point B comes over here and A over here. Looking at the final positioning in green, we can see that the only letter that stays in the same place is point D. That's 1 mark. Now this is the typical type of question. If you get stuck on it, move on, come back to it. It's only worth 1 mark. Don't spend hours on it. You're better spending time checking carefully other answers. For question 33, I'm going to use a little bit of algebra. We're told Karen is twice as old as Vanessa. Let's call Vanessa's age A. If Karen's twice as old as Vanessa, she's 2 A's. Okay, 3 years from now, the sum of their ages will be 42. Now, if we add 3 years to each of their ages, we know that the total will be 42. So, 2 A's plus A plus 3 plus 3 must be equal to 42. Okay, well 3 A's, 2 A's and 1 A make 3A, plus 6 must be equal to 42. That gives us 3 A's must be equal to 36, which tells us that one of the A's must be equal to 12. The question asks for how old Karen is. Well, I think Vanessa's age is A, which is 12, and Karen's age is double that, which is 24. So Karen is 24 years old. 1 mark for that. You can do this by trial and improvement and just testing out values, but it's quicker to use algebra.